All right, welcome everyone to the 23-24 Scarlet Oaks presentation. Please be respectful of our speakers. All questions will be answered at the end. Then we've got Dakota Baker. If you can raise your hand. We got Dyra, Vaya, and Lindsay. And Mr. Henley, this is my third time doing this. If you do go over, you may be asked one day to come over and speak. And these students have, come over and did a great job last bell. Look forward to them doing the same. Mr. Green helped myself, along with Ms. Flaherty here from Scarlet Oaks. And I think you really enjoyed the presentation.
Hi guys. Good morning or good afternoon, 11 o'clock. All right, so let me pull my presentation up. All right, so.
You have a few slides. There you go, slides.
There we go. Okay, so I'm Mrs. Flaherty. I am an intervention specialist over at Scarlet Oaks. I've been there for a couple years, and this is actually my first time, I think, coming to Princeton to be able to talk to you guys. So thanks for having us. I really appreciate that. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Great Oaks. How many of you got to come to sophomore visitation day on Monday? Because I know we have sophomores and freshmen in here, right? Both again? Okay, cool. So you guys have had some exposure. How many of you know about Great Oaks? How many of you have heard of Great Oaks? Whether it's a sibling, a friend, a cousin, anybody? Okay, we have a couple. So you guys know we have 4 campuses, not just Scarlet. So we have 4 campuses, okay? We have Diamond Oaks, which is on the west side. We have Scarlet Oaks, which is right down the street, which is your main feeder. We have Laurel Oaks, which is up in Wilmington. And we have Live Oaks, which is over in Milford, okay? We have over 30 different programs at these schools, and we work with 36 different districts. So we have kids from all different school districts, all different neighborhoods, all different areas of the city. So it's actually really cool. Scarlet, I would say, probably has the most diverse population of students because we're getting kids from everywhere. I think this year we are working with, I would say, at least 30 different schools, or at least I am. We have a kid who comes down from Wilmington to do a fire program. We have a lot of kids from like out in West Claremont who come, so kids from all over. It's really cool. So these are our programs. Some of these programs are offered at every school, Live, Diamond, Laurel. Some of these programs are only offered at Scarlet, right? So we only have firefighting at Scarlet, we only have law at Scarlet, engineering robotics is only at Scarlet. But then these other schools also have programs that we don't offer. For example, Diamond Oaks on the west side, they have a huge barn, and they have equine, so horses. Laurel Oaks, up in Wilmington, they have aviation, so airplanes, aviation maintenance, airplane maintenance, okay? There's a new program that's going to be offered next year at Live Oaks in Milford. They're partnering with Green Acres, and it is an environmental science program, so it's all about sustainability. Okay, it's really cool. I got to go see a presentation on it earlier this week. So we have a couple special ones, but you may say, you know what, none of these programs up here look that interesting. I'm really interested in equine. I love horses. That's something I really want to do. But it's only at Diamond. How am I going to get there, right? From here to the west side, that's kind of far. We do offer shuttles, right? So you would have transportation from Scarlet, right? You'd get from Princeton to Scarlet or your house to Scarlet. You then would get on your bus and you get to take it, you would take a shuttle over to Diamond. Does that make sense? So transportation is provided, and that's something we can work on, okay? I'm gonna skip this one. So before I keep talking, I kind of want to introduce my panel, my friends who I brought today. I know we share their names, but I also want to share their programs. And then we can kind of talk about the application process, what the day looks like, all those kind of things, okay? So who wants to go first? Same order?
My name is Dakota Baker. I'm in the diesel program, industrial diesel. I work on semis, stuff like that.
So I'm Dyra. I'm in a nurse assistant program. Well, I work on people. So, I'm Lindsay. The program I'm in is dental assistant, and you work on your teeth practically?
I'm Alea, and I'm in early childhood education, and I work with kids.
Cool, thanks guys. So we have people from every lab, right? And we have tons of labs. So I could have brought even more friends and we could have covered more labs, but this is what we got today. And they're gonna help me. So I'm gonna kind of go through the application process. I'll tell you what that looks like. We'll talk about what a day looks like at Scarlet. And then we will let each one of them talk and answer some questions. Sound good? If you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand. You can ask, or you can wait till the end. We'll do questions at the end too. Whatever you're comfortable with, okay? All right, so application process. It's open. Has anybody applied? I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but okay, we've got a few people who applied. Okay, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you've applied, and you look really nice today. You are in your uniform. What program are you in? Like, what's your uniform for? JROTC. Did you come to the tour? Okay, so did you know that we have a JROTC program? Okay, cool. So I see a couple other people in uniform. So if that's something you want to do, you can still participate in that. They offer a class during the day. They offer a lunch bunch at lunch in case you don't have room in your schedule for that. And then they offer after-school activities with it. So same thing. So that's an option that you can look for, right? Because I think sometimes, and this is just a little sidebar, but sometimes people are like, oh, I have to give up like activities and sports and, you know, things that I'm doing. You don't. We have some too. Or you can come back and still participate. But we also have, like I said, the JROTC programs. So I'm glad you're applying, and I'm glad hopefully you can do it there too. All right, so applications are open. They are due February 6th. What did you say, Ms. Green? That's like
Week and a half.
Week and a half. So if you haven't applied yet and you want to, there's still time, okay? But you also, if you're like, you know what, I'm on the fence, I need a little more time to talk to my mom, my dad, my peers, grandma, whoever you want to talk to, your IS, you can continue to apply until the end of the year, okay? This is just the first round of applications. This is like the priority deadline, okay? So first round of applications within this group of the February 6th, you would find out if you've been accepted in early March, okay? We have a blind application process, so we know nothing about you. We don't know if you're on an IEP, a 504, if you are an ELL student, if you need additional supports, anything like that. It's just literally your name, right? And for those of you who have filled out the application, what did you think? Did you think it was hard? Not that bad? No, pretty easy, right? Name, guardian's name, program, things like that. Why you're interested, spot for your parents. And then what happens is after you fill that out, it gets pushed to your counselor, right? So then your counselor uploads your transcript, okay? So it is a blind application process, but you must be on track. So it gets put into a system called applications. Our career specialist then goes in, checks your transcript. If you're on track, she puts you in one pile. If you are not on track, she puts you in another pile. You are not counted in that acceptance pool, right? You either have to have a plan, or you're waitlisted, or something like that, okay? So, in order to be on track to graduate, you gotta make sure you're passing your classes, okay? You have to make sure that you have A's, B's, C's, no F's, right? We don't like F's, okay? So make sure that you are on track. Make sure that if I understand sometimes things happen, you may have had a rough year, right? Maybe you failed history class, okay? If that's the case and you failed history class but you want to come, create a plan. Work with your IS, work with your counselor. But create a plan to figure out how you're going to make that up. Because once we talk about our schedules, you'll see we only have 4 bells in a day, plus your lab. So there's not a ton of time to make up work, right? Like you have to be prepared. So I think that's really important, okay? If there are some programs, for example, right now we have 101 applicants for our health technology program. That's what Dyra's in. There are only 100 spots. So that's when we would go into that lottery system, right, of pulling numbers. Okay, I would imagine there's more than one person who's not going to get in. There's still applications coming. So, and then for students who are on IEPs, same process goes for you. Like I said, we don't know that you're on an IEP. until we send a list. I usually, get all the list of students, we send it to the counselors, they mark it, and then I am in contact with Ms. Green, we set up meetings, and then we'll come and have an IEP meeting and sit down and say, okay, do we feel like this is gonna be good? Is this gonna be beneficial for this student? Is this a good placement, right? What can we do to support them? What do they need? So we have that meeting, okay? Like I said, we kind of talked about the credit deficient. Another thing I want to touch on is, I understand sophomore year, sometimes you guys haven't gotten your health credit or your PE credit. That does not mean that you are credit deficient, okay? Credit deficient is failing classes. So with the health and the PE, we do have online programs. I know a lot of you also fill out some waivers too. If you do sports or activities, those count. So it's helping you make sure you get those waivers in. It's making sure that we're doing summer school or we're doing an online class. Okay, so that is the only difference. Okay. So any questions about that? Okay. All right. So let's talk about our schedule, like a day in the life. Okay. So these are all juniors. So they follow Schedule A. They go to lab in the morning for roughly 2.5 hours. So who wants to talk about what their schedule looks like?
Why 2.5 hours?
We'll tell you. Give us a second. When she gets there, she'll tell you what she does. It's a long time though, isn't it? 2.5 hours is a really long time to be in one classroom, huh? All right, who wants to tell?
I do sleep.
Well,
Class starts at 7:50. If you're a minute late, obviously you gotta go get a tardy slip. It's from 7:50 to 10:27. You're in there for 4 bells.
Yeah.
For practically in your lab. You do notes in the morning and then go straight into lab and work with each other.
so he brings up a good point. You're in there for 2.5 hours. That's a long time. So what did we talk about earlier, right? You spend how much time doing book work roughly?
Maybe like 30 minutes.
30 minutes to an hour, depending on how much you're doing, right? So you've got some book work. Every lab has what's called a related room, which is a classroom connected to it, okay? So you go in the classroom, you do your lecture, you do your book work. About an hour, 30 minutes, depending on what you need. And then you get up and you start that hands-on piece, right? That's when you're moving around, you're working with your peers, you are either, for like you guys are practicing on each other with like teeth stuff, taking pulse. I think that's what Dyra said, pulse, blood pressure. I know, you're working with kids, you're working with cars, right? Just different things that you're doing. That's that hands-on piece, okay? Then you said you go to lunch. And then after that, you have 4 academics. This is what I was saying. You only have 4 academics. So everybody has to take a math class, whether you're here or you're at Scarlet. Everybody has to take an English class, okay? You got to usually we try to put you in your final government class, so you can get that final social studies credit for graduation. And then class 4, you can either have a guided study hall, which I think some of you are in them, right? So some of you have a guided study hall, which is comparable to like your college and career readiness. And some of you feel like you don't need a guided study hall, right? So then you take your final science class, okay? So only room for four subjects. So if you're failing a class and you're behind in like a U.S. history and you have to make that up, they're going to put it online, most likely, and you're going to have to complete it during your own time, unless you get on and do it during summer school. Does that make sense? Okay. Senior year, it switches. Seniors do their academics in the morning, they go to lunch, and then they go to lab. Some kids also got on a placement, but I'm going to let Dakota kind of talk about placement, kind of give you some insight on that. Any questions about the schedule so far? What it looks like? Okay. So, types of support. The biggest thing when you are in the lab setting is that you need to be independent, right? I was telling the group earlier, and I was telling some of the teachers, that yesterday I had a sub in the diesel mechanics lab, and it was terrifying. Okay, there's these giant trucks. What did we say, Dakota? This room is what? Like, the lab is what, 4 times the size, if not bigger than just this room that we're in. How many trucks are in there?
Around 6.
Six big trucks, 6 big diesel trucks, and you're all working independently. And I don't know if you've ever seen a diesel truck, but like you can't see around them, right? Like I could not see students working. I had to walk around the lab, but I couldn't walk around the lab because what was I missing? Yep, so I had to kind of stay behind the line, and then I did kind of sneak in because I just wanted to be sure. but these kids are just hammering away. And these trucks are lifted, and you're doing things with tires, and I couldn't see you all, right? So you have to be independent, and there's absolutely no horseplay. Can you talk about safety in your lab and how important it is, and how important independence is in maturity?
Safety is very important. These trucks are not cars. They will kill you and they can kill you. You do not support them properly. If you do not handle the material properly. You have to wear steel-toe boots. If you brake drum is 70 pounds. That's just a brake drum. There can be up to 2 to 4 of those on a semi. Those are on the back. You have to have safety glasses because you don't want anything in your eyes. These trucks are kind of old. There's a newer truck, but they're super heavy.
I mean, you're really doing what you would do in a shop, right?
Yes.
I mean, it is real world, hands-on application, right? It's like you're at work. You show up every day, you're in your uniform, you wear your steel-toed boots, you got your safety goggles. I mean, you're following what you're supposed to do, right? It's really important. So, if you feel like you struggle with maturity, you struggle with independence, maybe that's a conversation you need to have, and it's a good place, right? Because you got to worry about it. I mean, even not being in a lab where there's big machines like that, like you have children that you're responsible for, right? Somebody else's child. It's not just playing with kids. Like, oh, kids are so cute, I love playing with them. No, like you actually have to take care of them and watch them, and you are responsible for them. It's more than just babysitting, right? So when you're working with kids, what are you doing with them? How do you keep them safe?
So, like, just trying to, like, teach them to, like, it's basically like teaching them, like, how to listen and all that stuff, and then try to, like, if they're, like, trying to climb on a table or something, like, obviously tell them to get down and all that stuff. Try to keep them safe, because safety is first. So,
Because your lab instructor's there,
yeah.
but she's not in the room
Right.
monitoring you every single time. Because
Right.
half your class is still in the classroom planning and doing lesson plans, and the other half the class
Yeah.
is in the daycare center, right? The child care center.
It's like I go to so we like switch groups. So I'm away at Agape. So obviously I'm also in the classroom with another teacher, like 2 teachers in the classroom. So obviously they gonna guide me through how to teach them how to listen and all that stuff. So
And like, did you want to go on a tour yesterday or a walk yesterday around the building?
sophomores, well,
Did you
I
take
think-
the kids to find like those little orange sponge people or whatever?
I think my other half
Yeah.
of the group, the group that's in the preschool, like right now, they do little field trips around the school. They also might do a scavenger hunt, or like even go to culinary or vet, or even dental. They went to dental.
Yeah, so they're out walking around the
Yeah.
building. Like, you are responsible for those children. I don't know if you've ever walked with a 3 or 4-year-old.
Yeah.
It is not easy,
Yeah.
right? You are responsible for making sure those kids are not roaming the building. Yeah, it's hard. I see you guys all trying to do that. And I don't envy you. Don't envy you. So, safety and independence, and I know like earlier Lindsay, I think mentioned, I can't remember if it was Lindsay or Dyra, you guys mentioned you're all CPR certified, you all have that, training. Dakota has OSHA 10, which is a safety training. You weren't even allowed in the lab, were you, until that was done?
No.
Yeah, so they're pretty strict. Safety, independence, maturity, okay? Things to remember. We have classes just like you guys have, right? So, like I said, everybody has to take an English class. Everybody has to take a math class, okay? We have co-taught classes where you have an intervention specialist in there helping. We try really hard to make it so you don't know the difference between your IS and your math teacher or English teacher. You take a science class, you take a government class, those are more independent. We also have, like I said, what's called an ISL bell, which is comparable to your college and career readiness bell, right? So some kids take it, some kids don't. It just depends. All of these decisions and all of these classes are, we sit and we talk about them at your IEP meeting, right? Do we feel like we need this class? What do you need? Are you independent? Do you need some prompting, right? Do you need even more prompting than just a little bit prompting? Where are we at? So those are all things that we talk about. Expectations. Like I said, Scarlett's really fun. Don't get me wrong. It's a great school. I think that you guys do have a good time. But it's kind of ran a little bit more like a business, okay? You're showing up like you're going to work every day. We have guidelines and expectations that you need to follow. And then on top of it, you also have to follow your guidelines and expectations like at Princeton, okay? So remember, you get on the bus, it's a Princeton bus, right? Still a Princeton student. Something happens on that bus, Princeton can still suspend you, right? You can still get in trouble for doing something on the bus because it's a Princeton bus, even though you're going to Scarlett. So you have to follow guidelines of your home school and guidelines here. Some schools, and I don't know if Princeton is like this, but for example, we have some schools you have to get community service to graduate, right? So just because you come to Scarlett doesn't mean that goes away, right? You have to still follow those guidelines. You have both to follow. You have to make sure you're maintaining passing grades in academics and lab classes, okay? My friends up here, of course they've done that. That's why they're here, right? There are stellar students. They're here, they work hard, they're interested, but, you know, sometimes we have some students who struggle, right? They maybe just haven't been working as hard, and unfortunately that means we have a meeting, right? I am so happy for you to come. I want you there, right? I want you to be at Scarlett. I want you to feel like you are in a lab where you can be successful. I also will send you back if I need to, okay? Coming to Scarlett is a privilege. Remember that. There are only so many spots. Some labs take 15 kids. Some labs take 25 kids. Although being at Scarlett is great, and I want you to get your certifications, our first priority is still getting you to graduate. So if you are not passing your classes, you are not earning your credits, meetings will be held and you can be sent back, okay? I always like to remind people, I'm not trying to be mean about it, I'm just trying to be very clear, okay? Hours, coming to school regularly, super important. Strong attendance is so important. I don't have any cosmetology students with me today, but cosmetology tracks your hours. And to be very clear, I didn't say this before, that is not a Scarlett thing. That is a state of Ohio thing, because it is a program ran by the state. They are prepping for state board, right? So they have to get, by the end of their junior year, 750 hours in the classroom. They also then have to do internships. I mean, you have to graduate, you have to have at least 1,000 hours in order to obtain your license, okay? That counts for your academic classes, that counts for your lab time. I get it, sometimes you're active, sometimes you get sick, sometimes you have family emergencies, sometimes you just need a mental health day. But with a lab like that, you make up those hours. So that involves staying after school, that involves scheduling time with your teacher to come in at lunch. They track all of that. They have a whole spreadsheet, okay? I know that we talked about, even though that your labs don't track hours, missing a day feels like you've been put back, right? I understand, like I said, things happen, and we can help you get caught up. But you gotta come to school regularly, right? It's important. Even though you're not doing hours, you're still prepping for radiology, or you're prepping for your STNA, or your CDA, or things like that, right? Your ASE tests. Those are all tests that they're prepping for. It's important to be there. Because again, it's 2.5 hours of time that they're missing. And then making sure that we follow dress code guidelines. So I told the group earlier, I'm a softie, okay? I did not make all of my students come today in their uniform, right? I was so appreciative that they were coming to talk to you that I let them have a dress down day, okay? But in theory, my friend Lindsay right here, she wears a lot of really pink, beautiful pink and purple scrubs. Dyra, you said what? Navy and maroon?
I said maroon and gray.
Maroon and gray. I knew it. So scrubs, again, scrubs. Alea, you want to show everybody your uniform? She's in uniform. She's got her polo on, it's embroidered. She's got her nice pants, her closed-toed shoes. She's good. Dakota, you want to show everybody your uniform? This is Dakota. He's got his diesel uniform on, right? Stay standing up. I'm going to use you again. So again, you guys are probably like, uniforms? That stinks. Like, who wants to wear a uniform every day? Right? You know. But what I'm going to be honest about is Dakota works with cars, right? Oil, grease, dirty, right? Look at his shoulder. Turn to the side again. Look, I'm sure that's been washed multiple times and it's not coming out, right? You get stains. Alea has snot from little kids, right? Like, ew. Lindsay, you're doing stuff with plaster, right? So all of these things are getting on their clothes. Like, who wants to wear their nice sweatshirt that they just bought and spent, I don't know how much you guys spend on clothes nowadays, like $60, $70, $80, like, and just get it dirty and ruin it. No, nobody wants to do that. So I get it. Uniforms, not super fun, but really important, okay? Because not only does it keep your clothes from getting ruined, but it makes you look professional. It keeps you safe, right? Dakota has his steel-toed boots on. He's got his glasses. He has his hat. You can wear your hat right in lab, right? They all have closed-toed shoes. That's why. Remember, like I said, coming to Scarlet is kind of like coming to work. It's kind of like a business, right? As much as I want to be able to wear jeans every day to work, I'm not allowed, right? I have to wear my closed-toed shoes. I'm wearing my Great Oak sweatshirt because I'm here talking to you. That's being an adult, right? So, following dress code guidelines, coming to school regularly, maintaining passing grades, all of those things are important. Anything else I'm forgetting, guys, that you want to throw in? Did I cover it? Okay. Any questions so far? Anybody think of anything? Okay. So again, here's the uniform piece. If you choose to apply, they send you all this stuff in the mail, right? So you'll get whatever uniform you need. They'll tell you how to get it, all that kind of stuff. So the last thing is when you guys take exams, you have things like your web exams, you have things, and of course exams, same thing you would take at Princeton, okay? Industry, credential, or certification exams, that's going to be like for Dakota, that is going to be his ASC exams. Let's see here. You'll do your radiology, like just STNA. There's lots of them. You'll do CEA. So there's lots of different exams that these students will take to either one, be able to get them employed once they leave, or two, they are phenomenal resume builders to go to college. They're also great prereqs, right? Because you've already had exposure to that information. I'm going to leave this up, but we'll kind of go through and talk about a couple other things. One of the things I really want to stress is that you can still go to college, okay? Just because you come to Scarlet or any trade school doesn't take college off the table. It's okay if you say, I don't want to go to college, I want to work. Like my buddy Dakota down here, he wants to go work. He wants to make money. He wants to build his skills now so that once he is done with high school, he can go work. We're going to work hopefully in fourth quarter, hopefully in a couple months, right, with those skills, right? It's okay, though, if you do want to go to college. Lindsay is talking about going to college. She wants to go. We have a senior in her program. She is going to UK, majoring in chemistry and pre-dental. So that's okay, too, because she's already had some of this exposure, right? So this is a great starting point. This is great exposure. You can look at it as this is my career path, or this is my exposure to the next step. Okay. The only other thing I think we brought up earlier was ACT and SAT, right? We kind of talked about that. So those are offered here at Princeton, right? Everybody has the opportunity to take your ACT and your SAT, okay? You just come back to Princeton. You still get that opportunity. It's not taken away. We put it in the announcements and you show up. Like Lindsay has to come back next week for a test, right? She's just going to come to Princeton and take her test. That's it. Pretty easy. Anything else? All right. I feel like I've done a lot of talking. I think it's time to let you guys. So anybody who wants to go first? I'm going to keep this up. This kind of tells you, more information on the programs and how to get there and what we need. But I'm going to let Dakota talk first, and then we'll just go down the panel. Okay? Sound good?
I'm gonna listen to Dakota.
Love it.
My name is Dakota Baker. I'm in the diesel program. Scarlet Oaks is a lot different from this school. You spend 30 minutes, 10 to 30 minutes in your class at the beginning, and you go lab. You are working on, well, depends on what lab you're in, but in diesel, we go work on semis. Safety is a very key feature because if you are not safe, you can get hurt or you can hurt someone else. No one wants to get hurt. Attendance is very important. If you miss one day, that's like missing 3 bells. You can't really make that up, especially in the lab I'm in. It would be very hard because once you're in a team or you're independent, one of the two, but most of the time you're independent by yourself doing it. I haven't really struggled. I haven't struggled with anything because the staff there are very great. They are very helpful. They're very useful. They're at your disposal to use and get help from them.
I did not pay him to say that, to be very clear.
The food there is much better than here.
This comes up every time. Every time. We love to talk about the food.
The food is a lot better. That's all I can say about it. If you are going to enroll in a program like mine, you better be ready to get greasy, dirty, anything like that. Any questions?
Not any questions. Busing,
Busing.
how to work to and from.
You can come here, you'll get dropped off here, then you'll get dropped off here, and then you'll take a shuttle bus to Scarlet Oaks, or whichever one that you want to go to.
You can attend all the events, separately, anything that happens here.
Yeah, you can attend everything that happens here. You're still part of this school, but you're at a different school, if that makes sense.
Can you talk more about placement?
Placement is very important. I can go on placement on my 4th quarter. That means money. Money's good, everyone likes money. It still counts as a lab grade, so you'll still gain the points you would be getting if you were still in lab, but you're getting paid for it. You are still getting that experience, that exposure. Your senior year, you'll go to all of your academics, then you'll sign out and go to work, or you'll go to lab.
So what's the biggest thing about placement, remember, is that it has to be earned.
It has to be earned. If you have to earn it, it's not given. None of this is given to you. You have to work for it.
How do you earn placement? Tell me
Good grades, pay attention, do your work.
attendance, right?
Attendance. Attendance is very important. Miss one day, you're missing 3 classes. for
So,
that.
yeah, so the biggest thing about placement is you have to remember, like, we are sending our students out on job sites to work with the community, right? That is a reflection of Great Oaks. That is a reflection of that lab instructor. So that's, again, where that independence, that maturity, that safety, all comes into play. Remember, like I said, going on placement has to be earned, but just like being at Scarlet in general, you can be taken off placement too, right? Passing your classes, making sure you're following, still communicating with your teachers even when you're not in the building, whether it's email or remind, those kind of things. Placement is a privilege.
Many.
Any more questions?
Any other questions for Dakota? Give a nice round of applause, everyone.
Emma.
Hi, I'm Dyra. So I'm in the nursing program. So I chose this program because if you think about it, it's like pretty much a chance in college. So like if I go to college, like I already know the basics. So, and it's gonna be easy. By positives, you meet a lot of new people. So like it's pretty much many people from different schools in one building. So like for example, if you're like lonely, like you don't have friends, and can make so yeah, maybe like one negative, like all the girls, if you like putting like press-ons, nails and stuff, you can't do that in the nursing program because you put gloves on and you gotta wash your hands. Nails pretty much give out germs, and you never know. Yeah, so if you miss one day, you miss a lot. And it's kind of like hard to pretty much catch up. 3 ways, Scarlet is different from Princeton. Like the buildings, like small, like Scarlet is small, but just like more buildings, if that makes sense. Like I said, one school and just like multiple people coming into schools. Grades are important because if you for example, if you have eggs, like you can go back to Princeton. Like you can't do that. Attendance, like I said, miss one day, you miss a lot. Phone policy, you can't really be on. You could, but you can't really be on your phone. Like you're pretty much learning so much stuff, you don't have time to be on your phone. Some struggles, maybe for like the STA, you just like pretty much, learn about like nursing assistant and stuff. And then after all that, you take a test, and if you fail it, you have to pay for it to retake it. So if you take it, you're supposed to get like a 70% or higher. I kind of failed twice, so.
Now, how do you
It's 11.
prep again for those tests that you don't pass? What's the process of getting help for those
So
tests?
you can also get some help with taking classes, so pretty much go over everything, summarize it, summarize everything you did. So in nursing assistant, you go to clinicals for since I'm a junior, I only go twice a year, and you pretty much I go to nursing homes, help the elderly. So if you like helping people, I recommend it. So what should future students want to enroll should know in my program. People think it's super hard. I remember last year, people from would come back to Princeton because they were saying the nursing assistant program is super hard, but it's really not. You just gotta kind of put your mind to it. If you really want to do it, pay attention. So for a nursing assistant, the key is to pay attention because it's really not so hard. So yeah.
Do you have any questions? Do you have a question? Raise your hand. Anyone? I have a question. We have computers here at the high school. How are the computers at Startups?
They're pretty much the same thing, but maybe they're touchscreen. That's maybe the cool part about it.
Now, do you use lockers? We don't use lockers here anymore. Do you
We
use
don't-
lockers at Startups?
You do, but that's only if you really want to. For example, in the nursing assistant program, you get a lot of books. I'm not sure about one, it's big, a lot of books. So, you can't just take that in your book bag. So, you can also have lockers to put all your stuff in.
No other questions? If not, can I walk?
Oh,
You got a question? My bad, go ahead.
so, do you still have to
I mean, yes, actually. It's pretty much like basic learning. So like if you want to go to college, pretty much like learning those basics. And, you know, if you want to go to college, it's kind of like easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so when you leave Scarlet, you'll have the opportunity, or while you're there, to earn, you'll take your test to become an MA, right, medical assistant, or STNA, right? You'll take both of those, which will allow you to work in like a nursing home. You could work in a hospital. Do you guys still do PCA? Does that sound familiar? PCA, you'll do phlebotomy. Phlebotomy is like my least favorite time of the year. Like, I will tell you how many times these kids come and they try to hit me up to try to get sticks, right? You gotta get so many sticks, like what is it, like 50 or something? 50 pricks, you gotta do blood draws. Don't ask me. I will never say yes. Oh my gosh. No thank you. But that's what you do, right? So it's just different areas. The perk about Dyra's program is there's lots of different avenues. You could get your MA, STNA, PCA, you could do something in phlebotomy, work at a hospital, work in a nursing home, and that could be happy. You could be totally content and fine with that, right? But you could also move on and try to earn, become an RN. You could do LP. So it just kind of depends on what you want to do and how motivated you are to get it done. So, but it's good exposure, right? Like you could leave and be happy with being an MA or having, being an STNA. Or you could move on. It just depends. It's what you make of it. I do have treats and prizes for if you ask a question. You get a cool pen and a Post-it. So
My name is Lindsay. The program I'm in is in dental assistant. The reason I chose it, I really didn't chose it. Mr. Henley pushed me into joining Scarlet. I paid health tech and dental assistant. I got in dental assistant around March. That's when they tell you you got in. And if you're in an IEP class, you get a meeting to tell you like what classes you're gonna have in a study hall if you're recommended to have one. One negative is how Dyra said you can't have nails. In dental assistant is germs that you're touching someone's mouth. Obviously you're gonna have gloves, but that's still germs that you're touching. And 3 ways Scarlet is different from Princeton is it's more quieter. There's juniors and seniors only. There's pretty much no drama. Like just mind your own business and move on with school. Phone policy. You can't really use it during lab because you're like learning new skills. And something future students should know enrolling in your program. If you got traumatized as a child, don't go into dental. Like that's one thing. I got traumatized too, but I still joined it.
you worked through it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even though someone almost made me choke in my lab because of the impressions, you work with each other. Like we don't know the skills yet. Like
You are the
flossing.
patient, huh?
Yes. For flossing, people was bleeding on their gums because no one knew how to floss. And our teacher came at us in the first day. She was like, how long is flossing? Like you gotta length it, like from your shoulder to your hand length. It has to be big to floss, if you know how to floss exactly. And for early childhood, the students come in, like the little kids, some of them cried because they're traumatized and none of them wanted to go on the chairs. And we were like, oh, we show you how to brush, like we use the tools and stuff. It was pretty cute. It was sad seeing them cry. And that's pretty much it. Is there any questions?
Have any questions? How are the academics for your program? We're not talking about English, math. For your program, is it hard at times? The work.
Yes.
Now, how do you overcome? Now you got to work harder. We know that. But who can you go to and say, hey, here we are after school tutoring buses Tuesday and Thursday. Like who can you get extra help from, and how do you go about getting that help?
Well, you could talk to your IEP teachers or your main teacher in your lab. Because like, if you go to your IEP teacher, they can't help you that much when you're learning in lab because they're not in that skill of what you're learning. And my lab teacher is Miss Nee. She helps a lot. Like, she says my students are great. They give straight A's. but like we all be like, stop lying, because some of us be failing classes too. She be bragging about us, but like, there's not all that. And she's super nosy. No offense, if she could hear you from a mile away. If like you talking bad about someone, she's like, who we talking about? Like, mind your own business. Like,
So it sounds like she sets high expectations for her lab students, right? Is that what
Yes.
we're saying? Yeah. So, and labs are kind of, you guys are kind of competitive, right? Like
Yes.
you guys are with each other for 2.5 hours, so you form like a little family bond. And then one, kind of like you guys were saying, you do work with other labs where like, you know, early childhood worked with you and you guys go out to vet sometimes. But you're also like really competitive with each other, right? Like,
Yes.
oh, my lab is the best. Us dental girls, we the best.
and like
There are
right
some
now,
boys, but-
right now we're going into a HOSA. I don't know how to explain HOSA exactly. We're competing with different schools.
Yeah, so HOSA is, like, we don't have sports, right? Because we have so many different schools. So you guys can participate in sports at Princeton. But at Scarlet, we have what's called a CTSO. That's a Career Tech Student Organization. And there's different ones. There's HOSA, there's one called Skills USA, there's FCCLA, which is what LA is saying, like, it's just different ones, right? And those are all student organizations that are competitions. We have a CTSO day in December, and that's when we do some competitions. So, like for you, what was one of them you guys did? Like a book? Did you do a book one?
Yeah.
You did like-
There's like also like little assignments like early childhood education. That one is like more on lesson plans and writing it and actually like going through
Yeah.
activities.
Yeah, so you could do a lesson plan, right? You submit it. So we have competition day, which is just our school. We also do things like an interview competition or a quiz bowl, and we take all the top performers from Scarlet, and then they go and they get to do regionals. They also do state, right, which is from the other career tech schools in the state. We had students last year for speeches. One of them went to like Austin, I think. Year before that, we've had some FCCLA students, which is our early childhood students. Where did they go? California?
I think Denver.
Yeah, they've gone lots of different places, right? They travel a lot, so that's kind of like our version of competition, right? That's the HOSA one that she's talking about.
I chose for HOSA, I chose mental health awareness. I'm with two different girls that are doing my project too. We went to regionals, like it's next month. You gotta be in proper uniform or you get points taken off. And that's pretty scary because you gotta be in proper uniform.
Mm-hmm. You're presenting, right?
Yes.
In front of strangers. Yeah. It's hard, but it's kind of cool, right? Because
Yeah.
even if you're not in a sport here, it still allows you to be able to be part of something and to compete and move on and all that kind of stuff. So.
Let's give a round of applause for Lindsay. Thank you, Lindsay. Coming up.
Hi, my name is Alea. I'm in early childhood education. So also with the FCCLA, I'm also in it. I'm working with these other two girls that's also my friends too. We also we're doing like helping community and all that things. And ours is much different than HOSA. So we're going against like other ECE. So we're doing that. And then it's like ours start like in March.
Yeah, I think this one
So,
yours is
yeah.
a little different. And when you say ECE, you're talking about other like career tech schools, right? Like Butler
Yeah,
Tech,
right.
Grant, or
Right.
Warren County. So
Right.
it's strictly just for students who are in these career tech schools. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe other people
Right.
from other schools could participate, but normally it's usually like just the career tech thing.
Yeah. And also, like everybody else said, attendance is also key. Like you might miss like a lot in one day. And also just like the teachers is pretty understanding. Like if you have all day lab, they'll understand from if you have all day lab, they might like try to help you with the assignment on what to do with the assignment, or like give you more time and all that and all that. And also my program, like about my program, is we work with kids obviously, and we separate in groups, and also we also like separate in groups, and I'm going to Agape, and I work there. I actually like had all day lab there for the first time yesterday. I think it was pretty good. I actually learned more from going to Agape all day, and yeah, and then I'm also this is my last week, so being there, so I'm actually going to switch to the preschool at Scarlet Oaks, and then the people that is in preschool there is going to switch to Agape. So it's a lot going on. You can't, like the phone policy, you can't really pull out your phone and try to text or even be on TikTok or whatnot. And you can't really be on that because like you're probably gonna miss a couple assignments, be on that phone, because the teacher's not gonna tell you to get off. Well, they probably will tell you to get off your phone, but they're gonna say that, and then if you still on your phone, they ain't gonna say nothing, because that's on you. They're gonna treat you like an adult. Like they're gonna treat you with respect and all that stuff. So yeah, and then
All right, quick before everyone goes to lunch, I want to thank our four speakers for coming in. If you can give one last round of applause. Thank you to Ms. Erica Green. She helped me a lot get this together. Also with Abby Flaherty from Scarlet Oaks. Talk to your parents, talk to your case managers about Scarlet Oaks. If you're a sophomore, you've already been on a visit. More information will come your way. If you're a freshman, the pamphlets, there's online, ask questions. Thanks everyone again. You have fifth bill lunch if you're in here. You go into lunch. After lunch, you go to sixth bill. Thank you all.
Thank you guys. Thanks for coming.